Welcome to Just the Who of Us, hosted by Reah Higgs. This is a space for honest, thoughtful conversations around mental health, life journeys, holistic wellnesses, and the experiences that shape who we are. Take a breath, settle in, and join Reah and today's guests as we explore the stories that connect us.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You look nice today. I mean,
Thank
not that
you.
you didn't look nice last time, but it's good to see. Sorry, I'm a few minutes late. I use a studio and there was a double booking mishap. So,
Oh, okay. I can tell you're in a different place than when I saw you the last time.
All right. Welcome back to Just the Who of Us podcast. Today we have Matt Melvin with us. Today we are going to spend a little bit of time getting to know Matt and learn about a couple of his passionate topics. We met in a podcasting group where I saw you make a post about looking for podcast to guest on, and your topics were really intriguing to me. So I'm really glad that we were able to meet kind of organically, and I'm very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
You're welcome. So there are a few things that you like to talk about, but one of the things that we're going to talk about today is the lack of availability for men's groups, the kind of commonalities that the men's groups have that are available, and how they are not very inclusive. We're also going to maybe brainstorm some ideas on how we can change that narrative and make these groups a little bit more inclusive, or as you work to create your own.
I've been a part of 15 men's groups. All of them are very similar. Most of the men that come to the group are married and have children. As a gay man, I feel once again I'm ostracized when seeking out a group that should be all inclusive.
Right. Right. Because when I think of, there's all kinds of women's groups, right? And they're not always married with kids. Although I am married with kids, sometimes I want something to kind of separate myself, you know? And it is very common for men's groups to be married with kids. Meanwhile, women's groups commonly I see have, I don't know, single mingle, mimosa Wednesday, whatever the case may be, they're geared toward hobbies and interests, right? Rather than this one thing. And so I completely agree. I think that there are a few things that we can change and in the world to make safe spaces a little more inclusive, but this is very much so one of them. Everybody deserves a place to go to feel included, right? And when you go to all these different places where you want to feel included and it's very targeted toward other people, it doesn't feel very safe.
I don't feel very safe in sharing my experiences with men that are not going to be able to understand who I am, what I go through. I will give you an example. I was part of a group several years ago, and we had a group that we were supposed to talk about sex. It was very uncomfortable for me to hear about other men's experiences. When I tried to share about my experiences, it was, again, I felt ostracized. I
Right.
felt like I was the only one coming to the table with this experience. And it was very much a very uncomfortable experience. I think that it should be a topic that is talked about. I think a lot of men hide, repress, and deny what's going on.
Right.
And they go to topics such as sports and weather, as defense mechanisms. There is no risk in talking about those topics.
Yes. But you know, that is kind of it is a societal thing, a societal expectation almost for men. You know, luckily I feel like this is something that has been evolving over the years to where men are not in every setting only expected to talk about hobbies and interests and kind of exclude experience and the things that bring emotion to the table. Even though it is something that I feel is evolving, it is still it's a very common expectation in society for the women to show talk about their emotions and the men to talk about the hobbies. And it's the places that I speak and have conversations with people are intentional, right? Because I'm in the mental health field. So the conversations that I have with men are more geared to men saying, I would like to be able to talk about my emotions. I would like to be able to cater to my mental health. I'd like to be able to do these things. And I'm working so that other people can do that. But outside of those spaces where those conversations are intentional, you go back into the world, and those are not the conversations that we're still having. You know, it's a very those conversations happen in a very intentional place, typically not in a group of men.
I also believe that men hide, repress, deny, suppress emotions and are uncomfortable talking about real problems.
Right.
They are
Yeah.
taught we are taught to suck it up, buttercup. Men don't cry. Men don't show their emotions. I believe that true men cry.
Yeah. You know, I had my first child at 14 and I had a boy. I very much taught my oldest son what you just said. I very much taught him, suck it up. I mean, I can guarantee you I've said that to him before as a child, being a child myself. Suck it up, get over it, you're fine, keep it moving, blah, blah, blah. I was very much that type of person also because I had a lot of things that I hadn't dealt with and I was just angry. So naturally, my response to things was just suck it up and move on. We don't have time to feel it. And as I got older, I also had to spend time unteaching him that. It's not what I teach my youngest son. My oldest is 26, my youngest is 11, and there's naturally different parenting that goes on, right? Because I'm a much more evolved person, I'd like to think. But, it's very much what I taught my oldest son. Suck it up. We don't have time to feel it. It happened and move on. And it's very much a unhealed parent thing to do. Um, you know, it's one of those things also I mentioned at the beginning, showing my age. It's also, I think, an age of parenting because in the early 2000s, when I was when I first became a parent, we didn't have these conversations. We didn't have conversations about men should be able to feel their feelings. And so societally, that was suck it up, buttercup. It explains it perfectly. Um, and I revert back to parenting because my experience, I don't have a male experience, right? So my only experience is parenting a man or a boy to be a man, um, which I think that had I been had I been a man parenting a boy to be a man, I probably initially would have parented the same way. It just goes back to the societal expectations, which we're working to change. And we can do it in places like this, finding small groups. Um, Most of the time, and you can tell me if this is your experience as well, most of the time when we find small groups, it's either through a recovery setting or a church setting. Has that been your experience as well?
I've never been in recovery. The church settings, I've not found connection groups. All of my groups that I found have all been online
Okay.
through different searches that I've done, and they haven't been successful.
Yeah.
Anybody can post if they have a group.
Right. Right. What is from your experience? And, and I asked that question because I like that we've had different experiences because there's kind of more ground to cover. Um, the reason I asked about church settings is because, as we know, most churches, most, and I say not all, but most, because there are a lot of churches that are evolving to be inclusive, but most churches are not inclusive.
Correct. Yes, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. And so, which,
That's why I've left several churches.
yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. Church and inclusivity that's a whole nother conversation that we could have, boy. Um, but
I just
and
want to say on that topic, you don't have to go to a building to worship God.
correct. 100% agree. Yeah. That's that's something that I also have. And like I said, that could be we could have a whole nother conversation on that because we have a very similar views on that as well. But I'm glad that you said that. Because I think that because when I think of small groups, I naturally think of church groups. And it's really important for people to understand that, say you don't fit into these groups because they're not inclusive.
And most church groups are not going to be inclusive,
Right.
folks. If you are looking for an all inclusive group, do not look for a church to do that for you.
Yeah. But to your point, that doesn't mean that you can't worship God and still be included.
I believe worshiping God is absolutely pivotal in everything that I do.
Yeah. I'm glad that you bring that up though. Um, and like I said, whole nother conversation. And I would love to have that conversation with you, honestly. But I want to spend a little more time because I can talk about that forever. So I want to make sure that I don't go off on a tangent. Um,
I'm
but
currently part of a men's group. We meet every Wednesday in the morning.
mhm,
It's supposed to be Bible study. It sometimes morphs into personal experiences. But
okay.
I will tell you, there's a lot of red flags in this group. Two
Yeah.
weeks ago, I heard several men compare the founder to Jesus. They said that this individual is the closest human they've seen to Jesus. Folks, if any organization tells you that, run the other way. There is no man or woman that even comes close to Jesus Christ. I believe Mother Teresa was most likely the closest human we've seen to God, but please do not compare a human to somebody to God. Please
Right.
don't.
I
Here's
agree.
why,
Yeah.
because all human beings are sinful. God was not sinful.
Yeah.
In
But I'm
fact,
glad you bring that up.
God went to the cross for our sins. He was sinless. He paid the ultimate price because of our sins. Tell me another human being that's willing and able to do that. They
Right.
can't because they're sinful themselves.
Right.
They had to find somebody that was sinless to go to the cross. There is no human being that's ever lived or will live that is or will be sinless.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, sorry. I'm glad you bring that up too, because it is one of those things that, the correlation when I think, when I think small groups or, um, oh gosh, I lost my wording. When I think small groups, I think church groups or therapeutic. Maybe not necessarily recovery, but therapeutic. Grief recovery, something along those lines. But I don't think small groups for gay men, small groups for the community, small like because people don't advertise that. Um, do you think, and this is just me asking your personal opinion, do you think that the reason people don't advertise individually, if there are groups, is because they don't want to single people out? They want to people to feel inclusive, or they just don't want to draw the attention that this group is for the
I think
community?
they don't want to draw the attention because of the amount of hate groups that are out there.
Mm,
They
yeah,
don't want people coming and causing a disruption.
that's a really good point. Um, when I was studying to earn my bachelor's in Christian studies, I told my husband at that time, this was about 10 or so years ago. I still lived in Charlotte, and I told him I wanted to start a church for the LGBTQ plus community, specifically a worship, a place of worship. And because I also wanted to be inclusive in not just for Christianity. Um, And he said to me, that's a bad idea, not because of what you're trying to do, but because of the target you would be putting on yourself. And it broke my heart because, I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking, how can I help? How can I help my community? How can I help people? How can I help people feel loved, celebrate who they are, and still practice their religion? And not feel ostracized and, left out and everything because of this one component of themselves. That's what I was thinking. And he pointed out, he was like, no, you would, and mind you, this was also 10 years ago. So, times have changed a little bit, not a ton. But it made me so sad because he was right. It would have, people would have had a negative reaction to it. And it just, I still don't understand, because I don't feel that way, the way that these people have hate for. Um,
There is so much hate in this country.
yeah,
I
yeah.
believe that there is no other country that has as much hate as this country does.
There's, that's a deep thing to dive into because you're not wrong. And I think part of it is because it could go so many directions. But I think part of it is because we are so allowed to, if that does that make sense?
I believe that there's no consequences. If there were
Yeah.
consequences, people would shape up.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Just from my personal experience, the men's group I'm a part of, I am the only single gay man in the group. Every other
Really?
man is married and has kids or divorced that has kids. My experience is very, very different than anybody else in the group. And there's
Right.
a amount of distrust I have in being vulnerable for a
Hmm.
lot of reasons. One, they record every single call. I don't understand why. It's suspect to me. And when people record, I always tell people, I don't know where the information is going. I'm
Right.
not going to say something personal when I don't know who else is looking at this.
Yeah.
I understand when I'm doing an interview, it's completely different. But when you're
Right.
part of this group, the idea is for confidentiality. And when somebody's
100%.
recording, there is no confidentiality. In
So,
order for a group to be successful, there has to be 100% confidentiality. Otherwise, it doesn't serve as a men's group. It only serves as a
like a
dysfunction.
conversational, yeah. So have you attended only online groups or have you attempted in-person groups as well?
I attempted several in-person groups. They were not a fit for me.
Yeah,
The challenge for me is I'm very politically on the right. Socially, I'm more in the middle.
right.
And a lot of groups have men that are very on the left.
Really?
Yes,
Hmm.
because they're getting referrals from therapists. And a lot of men that are more left leaning
Oh,
are going to see a therapist.
that
Men that
makes
are on
sense
the
then.
right use sports, suck it up, buttercup, not really feeling what's going on. So I'm caught between multiple different angles. One of the
Yeah.
biggest men's group in the country is called Mankind Project. When I went to the MKP group in Vermont, I was the youngest man there. Every other man was one, white, two, well over 60. I don't have anything in common with anybody in the group.
Right.
They're also all left leaning. The purpose of a group is not to talk about politics, what
Yeah.
you do for work, religion. They break every single rule. In the first meeting, they were breaking the rules.
So let's talk about this. What is, because you and I talked about this briefly off the record, but what is your plan to change this common situation?
My plan is to start a men's group with another man who has a son that is transitioning.
Okay.
My experience and his experience are very similar. We feel very uncomfortable going to these heteronormative groups
Right.
and hearing your wife. I mean, he is married, however, to a woman. However, he has a son that's transitioning and he really can't relate to what is going on with most of the men in the group.
Right. Yeah.
And I, as a single gay man, really don't have any commonality with men that have children.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
typically, the men that are coming to the group, it's because there's a problem. There's a divorce. There's a lot of men are in an adulterous relationship or have committed adultery.
Oh,
The
wow.
group I was just speaking about, we were in a Bible study 2 weeks ago. It transitioned to a man confessing that he cheated on his wife 10 years ago. And then it transitioned to comparing the founder to Jesus. And I don't understand how we got to those
Right.
lily pads, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, I've gone to a I've gone to a couple of women's groups through church, and one I went through it was around Christmas time. And the women at the church, oh, we're having a Christmas get together. All right, cool, great, And I'm thinking, I mean, I don't really drink. I'm not against it. Like I'll have like a one beer or something like every once in a while, but like I'm almost 41. I don't know. I don't just like sit around. Like it's just not my thing anymore. You know. So I go to this church group. of ladies, and the night carries on. They're doing Bible study, and the night carries on, and people start to leave. It's about 10 o'clock. I was like 2 minutes away from my house. It was in my neighborhood still. Uh, so we would start to leave, and they like break out wine and liquor and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, now we're having a party. Okay, well, I'm, by no means. My daughter on her 21st birthday, we went out. I got her a shot, her and my ex-husband and my husband, we all, family thing, whatever. My adult son, we bought a shot. Um, so, like I'm not against alcohol when it's in a safe, controlled environment, and when you're making smart choices about it. But it was just kind of weird to me that Bible study's over and now we're getting drunk, and so I was
It is
like,
very bizarre.
well, it's getting late. It's time for me to go.
The Bible clearly talks about having a sound mind. You cannot be drunk or high on any drug and have
Right.
a sound
Right. Right. But that is just a little peek for our later conversation, but that is my kind of qualm with church, you know, and not everybody, obviously, but a lot of experiences I've had, there's always contradictions in behaviors. And I know someone who is very, very, they are very, very, not only are they conservative, because I don't think being conservative is a bad thing by any means. Um, but they will be the loudest one telling everyone what they're doing wrong and what they shouldn't be doing and all these things. But their home life is very unhealthy, very destructive, very dangerous. And it just seems to be a very common thing. And it's one reason that I also like, I don't do a lot of church groups just because like, I want to go somewhere if I'm going to be a part of this group, I want to learn what our focus is on learning and fellowship together and the purpose of the group and not get drunk. Like, I don't know, you know, it's just, it just was weird to me. So, or, I mean, women do it too, you know, like, okay, we're having a group. I've joined a couple mom groups and I felt the same way. I'm just like, we're all moms, but like that's about it. Like with yours, you're like, well, we're all men, but that's about it. It's just like, I don't know. I'm not cheating on my husband. I don't drink a lot. I don't, and all these things that you guys are chatting about, I don't fit into it. So just
That's how
because
I
I'm a
feel
mom.
with the men's group I'm a part of. I don't have anything to, well, I have a lot of insight to offer.
Right.
But when the man confessed to cheating on his spouse 10 years ago, I said, is this a group with men that have cheated on their spouse?
Hmm.
Which I would never want to be a part of. I don't agree with it.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, what can we do when we are in spaces over and over and over again that we don't feel comfortable in, we don't feel included in? You know, what can we do? We can start our own space. We can advocate for spaces like the ones that we can't find. And I think that it's really great for you to say, because it's easy to say that, right? It's easy to say, well, if you can't find it, start it. But it's not easy to necessarily do. There's a lot that goes into creating something successful. I own two businesses, and I can tell you that there's a lot that goes into creating something even remotely successful. And that also includes things that involve human connection. Um, but I'm really excited to see the progress that you make. Please make sure to keep in touch and share that with me so that I can also share that out for the world because there's plenty of people who feel the way you feel and who would love to be a part of this. community that they also can't find themselves fitting in because everything is geared toward straight married men with kids. And you're so right. You're so right. And I say that I'm not a man, but I have enough conversations and I observe a lot of things. And you are so right.
So if you or anyone you know is interested in being part of a men's group that is not heteronormative, although we will allow men, if they are heteronormative, to come to the group, I would never want to single out
Right.
anyone to be a
Right.
part of the group. There are two conditions. One, 100% confidentiality is one. Two, the relationship in the group stays in the group. In other words, you cannot have a relationship with any man outside of the group. Why? Here's why. Because it creates an imbalance between everybody in the group. And if there is friction or there's conflict, it can dissolve the group very, very quickly. If you want to communicate with one man outside of the group, it needs to be in a group chat where all the men are a part of. We don't want to single any man out.
That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, that's completely fair.
My email address is bulliedbehindbars@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Bullied Behind Bars, X, Bars Bullied, Facebook, Matthew.Melvin.5621. My book, Bullied Behind Bars, A Gay Christian Trump Supporter Goes to Prison, is available on Amazon.
Well, you beat me to it because that was going to be my next question.
Always be closing.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And is there anything else that you would like to say or ask or anything before we wrap up?
If you or somebody you know is in a very down frame of mind, suicidal, please reach out to me. Don't stay silent. Speak up. If you are a man, you need to be a part of a men's group. You cannot use your partner, if it's a heterosexual relationship, as your only mechanism of outlet.
100%.
If you're a man, you need men. If you're a woman, you need women. And be willing to be vulnerable. Be willing to want to change. And be authentic.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and I'm so glad we got to have this conversation, and hopefully this won't be the last.
I'll be back again.
See ya.
Thank you for spending this time with us on Just the Who of Us. We hope today's conversation offered reflection, comfort, or a moment of clarity. If this episode resonated with you, feel free to share it with someone who may need it. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, you're not alone in the journey.